And we're on.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have my tea.
Ditto. I've burnt my tongue on my breakfast.
We tried Shakshouka.
Shakshouka. Well,
ish. I think I had Shakshouka, but you had
I had a concoction, which was Shakshouka-like.
And I have discovered that I don't like Shakshouka.
No.
Which I don't know how much I'd actually prefaced my thinking, because I've had it before.
Yeah.
Because as I said to you beforehand,
I think
it was
out once in Melbourne, and I like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it'd be interesting to try. Well, you order it, and I'll try a wee bit of it. I thought the sauce was fine, but just for whatever reason, the eggs. And I'm funny, whether you realise it or not.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
In so many ways.
I'm funny about eggs at the best of times on their own. Stick it on toast and no problem.
You like it fried. It wasn't fried.
I like poached eggs on toast with bacon and sausage and tomato and HP
English
sauce
breakfast,
and
yes.
beans. And so I'm trying to be good. But I enjoyed the sauce. So, but yeah, just for whatever reason, the eggs made me, I don't know.
I like it.
Don't know why.
Veggie. Oh, is it technically veggie if there's an egg in it?
It's vegetarian. It's
Yeah.
not vegan.
Yeah.
Because,
So-
it contains
Veggie.
bee legs.
Yeah, so mine was veggie. I had corn and black beans, and I had ham in it. Not veggie.
There was a guy I used to work with 1,000 years ago who was pretty damn close to vegan. He was an interesting chap, a bundle of contradictions, I always thought. Shout out to Tim. Who was very sporting from the point of view. He was one of those mad cyclists, like one of the whippet bum thin,
On-road cyclists, not mountain bikers. Mountain bikers are all nuts.
Yeah. I think road people are nuts. As I've always said, it's all the excitement. It's all the danger of a motorcycle and none of the
Yeah,
excitement.
there's no way you get me one of them.
It's like, what protective gear are you wearing? It's like tights.
Yeah, we both have our motorcycle licences, and there's no way you'd get me on a road bike with fucking lycra between me and asphalt.
Dress for the crash, not the ride.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Tim, not speaking specifically, but again, I worked with this guy years, more than 10 years ago. And there's lots. We're in a Tim-rich environment anyway, so when I mention Tim, there's heaps to choose from. Anyway, he was quite vegetarian to the point I think he was vegan.
Ahead of his time.
Except for ham.
He liked ham.
At Christmas.
Right.
So, which was really funny, where he almost sort of almost psyched up for it and said, right, at Christmas I'm going to have ham, and Jesus, it's going to be a... But he...
That's weird.
Tradition, enjoyed it, not being too weird with family, I don't know. But yeah, he said I paid for it for the next few days.
His body didn't agree with him having ham.
So he liked
Tastes
it. He
good.
wasn't eating it because. So he seemed to be one of those vegetarians, I believe, that was doing it for health reasons. Like, just like I've got terrible skin, and if I go veggie, my skin tends to clear up.
Rather than ideological reasons, he was doing it for health. Said we eat. Well, you less so now.
I used to.
But we were we didn't eat a lot of meat. We were veggie mostly through
the week.
Through the week, and then on the weekends we'd have meats.
Yeah.
Because we were doing 5-2 as well, remember? So it was easier.
It was just easier, and cooking meat always took more effort to do it properly, especially to do it properly. Like you're talking about steak and all the rest of it. He is a bit better now when we've got.
We haven't got a barbecue yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah, well, it's just because I haven't
built one.
Because
the ones you buy in the shop are shit. They don't get hot enough anymore.
No. Because the hot plate's made out of mild steel, and it's
toned it all down. Because someone might burn themselves. Anyway,
I think that's the excuse. I think the real thing is, I'm sure you can. Well, I don't know, but I was going to say, I'm sure you can buy if you put your hand in your pocket, I'm sure you can buy a decent barbecue. But unless you've got cast iron plates,
as I said, my sister who works at Bunnings, just one of them, said that they're all stainless steel now instead of. Something?
Or just mild. Well, a lot might be stainless, but certainly mild steel.
She said, they've all changed. There's no... Even the cheap ass, the ones that you used to buy just for your footy club down the oval, you'd buy the $80 barbecue.
They used to still be cast iron, but they're not anymore.
They're not anymore, no. Anywho, we digress.
We do.
Anyway, we've eaten something. We do have a tea. I had something funny that... Well, not funny, that annoyed me that I was going to chat about.
Yes, I have nearly nothing I want to talk about.
So, the new paid family and domestic violence leave. So doing the payroll yesterday in Xero, I got a bing in front of me on the screen. And that's why this is why I know about this. FYI, as of the 1st of February, I think it's 1st of February. Yes, February 1, 2023. Paid family and domestic violence leave is available for employees of non-small business employers.
So
small business starts, yes, over 15. Small business starts in August. They become eligible for
as well.
Yep. So
I thought you were saying, well, two things there. The first thing I was just going to say, for the benefit of dear listeners, is that lots of rules in Australian business start at sort of 15 employees. So which from time to time some people have disagreed with me when I've pointed this out, and I think I have proven myself right through lack of negative experience, that like things like unfair dismissal and things don't apply. So it's like, I don't like it's like, you can't, maybe that's unfair dismissal. It's like, dude, I can fire you if I don't like your haircut.
Yeah, I haven't got 15.
Under 15 employees.
I'm a small business.
It's like, so, not that I did, of course.
No.
But where it sort of came up, I wouldn't even say quite passively aggressively, but not jokingly, like, well, I could do you for unfair dismissal. And I'm like,
good fucking luck.
Yeah, I could fire you just for making the joke, shithead.
Yeah.
I can't fire you because of your sexual orientation, your race,
religion,
or your religious belief. And even that's got a few get out of jail free out. Like, I'll declare myself a religious institution.
And anyway.
But and the second, so that was the first thing I was going to say. Pardon me. And the second thing, I thought you were going to say that when the thing is like, have any of your employees headbutted one of their...
No, but as I said, it pinged up in front of me because obviously it's come into effect because today we're in February. And
February's an odd time for it to start.
Yeah, so 1st of February and 1st of August for 15 and under. But I was like, you fucking kidding me? This has actually gone through. Because my problem was, I think when we were chatting about this last time, I'm like, what do you need? Like, do you need to prove anything? Or you do. You can. Yeah.
Right,
so I read this whole fucking thing because it annoyed the shit out of me. Because I'm like, so me as an employee, I just go and you can take it, you can declare it after the fact too. So I just don't show up for work one day, and it's available to men and women. Like, it's not, yes, of course. But yeah, you basically can turn up to work and then you can go, oh, actually, I'm, that's going to be unpaid leave. And the even more bizarre fucking thing, wait for it. So I'm scrolling down because I'm like, so what do I have to do to prove this? Like, there's 10 days of paid family and domestic violence leave in a 12-month period.
Quick question to interject for a second. Is that casual as well? Is it everyone or is it only...
Including
permanent?
Part-time and casual employees.
Paid.
So
how do you do that? Like, would you say it would have to be... Is it 8 hours? Is it based on how often you because like minimum shifts are 2 hours.
Wait for it.
Okay.
Wait for it. So 10 days of paid family and domestic violence leave. All employees in the Fair Work system, including part-time and casuals, will be entitled to 10 days of paid family and domestic violence leave in a 12-month period. This new entitlement replaces the existing entitlement to 5 days of unpaid family and domestic violence leave. Didn't even know that existed.
I did.
Anywho.
It's not much of an incentive when you don't get paid, though.
Right. So, you've got your paid leave now. And then it goes on how it renews and how to take it. And I'm scrolling down going, so far I've seen nothing that I have to prove what I did or why or how. I'm like, cool. You can take it, for example, for things like making arrangements for your safety or the safety of a close relative, going to a court hearing, going to police, attending counselling, Attending appointments with medical, financial, or legal professionals. So at this point, I'm thinking, fuck yeah, I'm taking violence leave to go and see my accountant once a year. Cool. Or go to the GP. They don't have to. I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to say anything. Blah blah blah. Cool. I'm like, excellent.
As far as you know so far,
I've got 10 extra days, so I keep scrolling.
You're the boss. You ain't got jack.
No. But yeah, so I'm like, do I just tick a box and that gets me extra 10 days? Happy days. Cool. Under the new provisions, blah-de-blah-de-blah, and they define what it is, define what a close relative is. Because remember we were saying that how is this not defamatory if...
Which I think we'll get started on at the end once I understand more of it.
Because the close relative can be spouse or former spouse, so this is the person affecting the violence on you.
Oh, right. So this isn't just getting headbutted. It's right. So they're declaring this is only for right. So if you get attacked in the street and you're convalescing after getting the brakes beaten off you, that's just normal sick leave, I guess. But if you know the person, that's different. Okay, maybe. But anyway, let's keep going.
Meaning of family and domestic violence. Under the new provisions, family and domestic violence means violent, threatening or other abusive behaviour by an employee's close relative, a current or former intimate partner, or a member of their household that both seeks to coerce or control the employee or cause them harm or fear.
Fear, okay.
Yeah. A close relative is... an employee's spouse or former spouse, de facto partner or former de facto partner, child, parent, grandparent, grandchild or sibling.
Right. So great-grandparents get it's like...
plus your current things, plus a person related to the employee according to Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander kinship rules. Right.
So check a box,
yeah. Check a box. Payment for the leave. Now, this is where it gets interesting because this is fraud, in my opinion.
All right.
So, you get paid at your full rate.
Good.
For casuals will be paid for the work they were rostered in the period that they took the leave. Blah-de-blah-de-blah, and they go through how you had to do it. It says pay slip requirements. This is interesting. There are rules about how information about paid family and domestic violence leave must be reported on pay slips.
So this is getting into the defamatory bit?
This is getting into the fraud bit.
Okay.
In terms of the information you put on the pay slip can't show that it's leave, just put it as normal hours. So potentially the person who is looking at your pay slip because they control you at home can't see that you've taken leave. So you're putting fake information on pay slips.
Right. So, but does that mean... So how would you report that in something like Xero? So you'd have to run 2 sets of books. You'd have to have a pay slip that actually included the domestic violence. So how would you track...
I don't know.
This person... This is 3 hours of domestic violence. So you'd basically have to have an internal pay slip and an external pay slip.
So it says blah, 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 blah. And what information must not be included? This is to reduce the risk to an employee's safety when accessing paid family and domestic violence leave. Employers need to keep a record of leave balances and any leave taken by employees. However, pay slips must not mention paid family and domestic violence leave, including any leave taken and leave balances.
That's interesting.
You should.
That's the domestic violence equivalent of I'm working back late at work tonight, which is I'm going to go see my mistress. Whereas like, yeah, well, okay, I see that at least on one hand it's like, yeah, like that is insanity because it's a complication. Now we're running 2 sets. We've got 2 sets of books, and it'd be interesting to see if. Like a big accounting package like Xero is going to support it. Where
I didn't read the Bing that came up on the front of the screen.
Where you'll have that and it'll track it. And by Christ, we're never going to find out. I mean, you're going to get laughed out of the bar or one of our other businesses if you did that. And it's like, fuck. Anyway, speechless when it actually comes to the nuts and bolts of it. But yeah, you're gonna be running 2 sets. So you're gonna build. So yeah, okay. I guess spit it out, Bradley. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you'll have. So yeah, the pay slips will no longer be an accurate reflection of the hours kept
by the employee,
by the employer
for the business. Yeah.
for the business.
Yeah.
So okay, that's interesting. So okay,
So
but that is a point against my view that so much of it's defamatory. So okay, so that's a positive for that.
I haven't scrolled yet, but it does say the employer can ask to see some evidence that you've done something, but they can't use it against you.
Yeah, well, okay.
So anyway, so you have to be recorded on the payslip as ordinary hours of work or another kind of payment for performing work, such as allowances, bonuses, or overtime.
Yeah.
So it's just fucking with your pay, it's fucking with your books.
That's fraud. Yep.
Okay. Yep. So it says you have to make the payslip look as close as possible to how it would have looked if the employee had not taken the leave. Are you insane?
Yes, is the answer.
An example of how to record it on your payslip: transitional agreements, notice and evidence requirements. So I'm still scrolling and I finally got here. If an employee takes this domestic violence leave, they have to let their employer know as soon as possible. This could be after the leave has started. An employer can ask their employee for evidence to show that the employee needs to do something to deal with family and domestic violence, and it's not practical to do that outside of their work hours.
Mm-hmm.
An employer can only use this information to satisfy themselves that the employee is entitled to the leave unless the employee consents. The employer is required to deal with the information by law. They've said that I've been sexually assaulted or something. I don't know, but how is that an employer's job? It's necessary to protect the life, health, or safety of the employee or another person.
What, through physical violence?
I don't know.
It always just comes down to.
Fuck
I think
me dead.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable that if someone is genuinely experiencing a personal hardship, which would include this, that the company can't rightly disadvantage them punitively. You can't just think, oh, for Christ's sake, this is too hard, despite the fact that you will. I think having some rules around it, or at least very strong guidelines, isn't unreasonable. However, what is always the case is that companies are there to produce profit. That's what they're there for. They're not there to provide welfare.
Well, that's what I was about to say. How is what's happening in your personal circumstances any of my business at work?
It shouldn't be.
And why do I have to then
pay for it
and do paperwork and then provide falsify records, how is this? Why is there...
On that alone would be interesting, so I'm glad they publish it enough, is that... So, the guy beats up the woman. Let's make it stereotypical, right? Without going down the rabbit hole of going, I've been... The man comes in, and some bear of a man comes in and says, I've been coerced by my child or something, and it's just and expects not to be laughed out of the room. So let's go for the stereotypical. Yep, what? She walked into a door.
Yeah.
All right, fine. And she comes in. What happens that, okay, all right, sweetie, we're gonna, you take a few days off. We're gonna pay. Don't worry, we'll fit up your
payslip.
Your pay slips, and you take the pay slips home, and then the homicidal maniac finds out that you're now in on it because you're helping her out, and then you've got some lunatics like, you fucking wait, mate.
Yeah.
That's a really extreme case at the edges, and I don't think, and if it's well publicised, which it certainly has been, that this is going to be the case, that your employers, are we putting the Frank children in behind the cupboard in the attic now? Is it our responsibility to help this person
absolutely bizarre
get away? Which, of course, it's just legislating, trying to be reasonable. Of course, if this was happening and you knew about it, and of course you would help the employee and all the rest of it to a point.
Yeah.
Because this was the guy that got dogpiled on, a guy that had owned a law firm. It was and the quote roughly was, paraphrasing, "Why should I have to pay for your poor relationship choices?" And of course he got dogpiled. And I think, the old expression, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, which is so what happens, which is fucking very regular, even though everyone is going to disagree with me. What happens when, he belts you, I look after you, the company looks after you and does all this, and then you go back to the son of a bitch. After you go all the way out of it and you get all the... Like, who hasn't been in a destructive relationship?
Every year you can have 10 days off, so he can beat you for 10 days every year.
I don't think it would take quite the Machiavellian individual to hit me. I can put some stank on it and and give me a black eye so I can go to work so we can go on that holiday we want.
But seriously, why the fuck where's my 10 days leave? I don't get punched in the face, but where's my 10 days leave?
Well, we can
it's like smokers. I always had the shits. Why do smokers get to go downstairs every 15 fucking minutes?
But that's the other thing with... Well, my short answer to that is life's not fair.
Yeah.
And that with everything, especially with smoking, it's like, this is the transitional period. Like, so I worked in offices where you could still smoke way back in the 90s. And like I was right at the transition. And... Well, it was because these rules were made when everyone fucking smoked.
Yeah.
And you were the one weirdo that didn't. And where everyone would just go, fuck off. Go have maybe you need a smoke to calm down.
Yeah. But I have various conflicting and interesting opinions on this. As I said, from one hand, it's like, where's my fucking 10 days for just whatever?
Well, as I've already pointed out, as the employer, you never get 10 days.
No, but if I was an employee, I'd be like, well, okay.
Well,
cool. What else can I get? Can I get 10 days leave off when my dog dies?
Well, funnily enough, you can. With all that other bullshit, like bereavement leave
kids.
and all the
I don't
rest
have
of
any kids. Can I get parental leave for a fur kid?
I don't.
But
I think you can.
To cut you off, though, and then on the other hand, from a bigger level, I'm like, this is just normalising this behaviour. Like, how are
to some extent,
why are we doing this? This is not normal. You should not be making allowances for people having domestic violence. You should be sorting out the domestic violence.
I think it's making... I don't think it's normalising... I'm being very... splitting hairs a bit. Like, I don't think it's normalising domestic violence. But it's certainly legislating or regulating being reasonable, which rarely works out well. It's certainly adding just more... I've never seen it where you need to falsify records.
No,
so that's
interesting.
I think if nothing else, that makes this quite noteworthy. But what it seems to do, it certainly continue... Like, where there seems to be no end to it, like, it would almost be a case of... To me, I don't know, I'd have to think more about it, but to me it almost makes more sense if it was like, you get like a one-off. Like, how long are you with an employer for? On average, like, what's the average? With young'uns, it might... Gone are the days of fucking...
20 years at
20 years
employer,
employment,
yeah.
It's... You're employed for, a few years. A few years. And in that few years, to me it'd be like... Or every 5 years you might get... Every bad partner, every bad relationship, you get a couple of days of getting out. But
so I've broken up with I've broken up with a dude, or I've broken up with a chick, and I need to move house. Like, that doesn't count, clearly. Cause I'm
leaving because it was a destructive relationship, therefore it was domestic violence, therefore I need 2 days off.
Mentally, it was just terrible.
To redoing it. But that's the thing, and let me speak very plainly. These are these rules that are...
Bizarre.
This is another one of these rules, to quote Shakespeare, which will probably be more honoured in the breach than the observance, where it's just like... Yeah. Karen's
there.
And in the back of your head,
up.
it's like, I've got to get fucking rid of this idiot.
Yeah.
Which is true. It's just human nature, and it's how it works. And if you want rid of even the most litigious employee, like, by their very definition, they're not doing the right thing. They're a train wreck. It's not helping.
They're not showing up to work regularly anyway.
They're not productive.
Yeah.
They're not good for the culture.
Yeah.
All that bullshit. Like, there's a way, and you just say, "Yep, you're late for work. Sorry, we're going to have a form." Like, if you want to be a prick about it, especially if they're very litigious, there's a swathe of other rules that you would use to go, right, written warning 1, written warning 2. There's your slip, and I'll see you at the Fair Work Ombudsman.
Yeah.
Where you just go, well, it's our policy that these things are very strictly done. They were counselled and coached on it, and they were done. and then you go yes or no. I submit myself to the tribunal.
So yeah, so it's just bizarre.
Well, the point that we've brought up a couple of times,
And
which
the
was
defamatory
which was
nature.
always the defamatory nature
Yeah.
of it, which I just thought, which I've been dogpiled a bit, where I've had certainly bush lawyers disagree with me, possibly real lawyers, but it's like I can't see how it would be anything other than defamatory, where, like, this is the point I think they missed. Like, so I beat you up, you go to your employer and you take domestic violence leave. That's the end all be of it, right? So one other person knows, at least one other person knows. Probably a few people know because now I know you're going to have to go down to the payroll office and go, yeah, we need to cook the books. So that'd be interesting. And that's the end of it, right? Fine, okay, no defamation. However, I beat you. You go to the thing. They talk about it. I'm sure if you go through there, there's stipulations around some confidentiality, but loose lips sink ships. Maybe there isn't. I
didn't
know.
see that word anywhere.
So you tell someone you work in the industry. So you work in, as you did, not to out you too much, but so you worked in like investment banking in Sydney. How many of the same people work in the same jobs in those same companies? All of them.
Yeah, it's really incestuous.
You all run around, you know. Like, to begin with, dirty secret, it's all run by South African Jews. Bless them.
Not all of it.
Quite a lot of it.
They're very good at it.
And they're very, very good at it, and more power to them, and blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, there is even...
A certain number of people
There's
in
even race... My point is, there's even a race of people that are commonly involved in it, and it's definitely all the same people. Even I've observed completely and utterly third person, you go into another job and, oh yeah, so-and-so's there, so-and-so's there, yeah. Right, so anyway, so the point is, so you get whacked at home, fine, well, terrible. You tell some people, she had it coming, you tell some people and you go through the process and they all talk. Now, the defamatory bit where I suffer a loss. I too work in that industry. I don't, but let's say I do. Very common. And word gets around, and I'm no longer employable. And then one of them...
And there's nothing of... there's no court ruling.
There's no paperwork.
There's no paperwork.
And then I go... And one of them says, yeah, it's because you used to knock your missus around, mate. And I go... I have. Where's the evidence? Am I convicted?
Yeah.
Do I have a charge? What are you talking about? Oh well.
Because there's a lot of conniving bitches out there too that'll go, yeah, he fucking hit me.
Even before you get to that.
Yeah.
But I just mean, and then you go, well, I'm suffering a genuine loss, like a real
That's what I mean.
loss.
There's no innocent before proven guilty anywhere here. So the evidence you have to supply.
Well, they're not. Well, that's the thing.
It's not specific.
That's
just says that you can ask them to show you something.
Yeah, that's
what it doesn't say.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Video evidence. The crabby tweets. Him crying
An
afterwards.
An employer can ask their employee for evidence to show that the employee needs to do something.
Oh, needs to, not evidence of the actual assault or whatever.
No, that the employee needs to do something to deal with family and domestic violence, and it's not practical to do it within the hours, outside the hours of work.
Right, so the evidence for that would be you would show a lawyer's appointment or an accountant's appointment or something like that.
All other rules about notice and evidence are the same as the current rules for taking unpaid family and domestic violence leave.
So you need to go
I'd have to go and
dig
Google
back
that.
into that. I just think...
It's bizarre.
That, as I said before...
I understand it's a problem. I understand that there needs to be reasonable actions taken. I understand there needs to be care and consideration taken when someone is fucking hurt. But that is insane.
Yeah.
I said, I just can't get over the fact that they're normalising it. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, everyone needs this leave. Everyone gets this leave because everyone has the possibility of being domestically violenced. Apologies for the abusement.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. All I can say is that
weird.
The Australian government and governments in general, but the Australian government particularly, is a large bureaucratic organisation that feels a deep need to involve themselves in absolutely every facet of your life. and
What's the legal system for?
much the same thing. So, and yeah, for whatever reason, is it politicians' logic? We've got a problem with this. Here's something, so we'll do it to try and shut are they doing it to shut everyone up? Are they doing it because they genuinely think there's all these people that need to get out of these things? But of course, my main sticking points / things that I find amusing. So yeah, that faking the records, that really sticks with me. Is just going, wow, okay, cool. And secondly, the 10 days paid,
it's a lot,
leave, whether you're a casual or not,
in a 12-month period.
In a 12-month period,
so every year.
So society's weird. So yeah, out of that,
Australian productivity is shit at the best of times, let alone giving people an extra 10. I'd like to see the first 12 months what the numbers are. But again, do you have to report on this, or is it falsified so you don't know how much they're taking?
I would imagine. I
want numbers. I want to see after 12 months how many people's access this leave.
Well, this comes down to the other.
How many men? How many women? I want a form with all of those people on it, grandparent, child. I want to see.
I'll take a bet that if not the next census, but the one after, there'll be a census question on it. Did you take domestic or family violence leave over the previous 5 years or 1 year or whatever?
Because surely, come on, you can't just.
It's just. Yeah, it's just okay. Well, it's like they've been where I'm saying. How much they want to involve themselves in your life and how much they want to involve in business. Now, which, dear listener, you may not realise that every single pay slip now goes to the government in real time. And as we have recently found out, if you just make a little clerical error, which is very usual, very normal, and at the end of the year you fix them up, or at the end of the quarter when you do your BAS, you look at it and you go, oh fuck, I've made a mistake there, I need to do an adjustment, fine. That they go, hang on, this number doesn't match this number, here's a form where you need to fill it out, here's the numbers.
And fax it back.
And fax it back. Using Morse code.
Which I've got to send today.
And the reasons why this happened. And to me, I haven't checked with the accountant. We probably should, or at least have a Google and just see the reason. What are the magical words you use so you don't get fucking audited? But because it's just like a clerical error, human error. We've got a few businesses, and you've got these are the things.
I can't actually tell you why it happened because I don't know why it happened because I've just made a mistake.
Yeah, just made a mistake.
I don't know what I was looking at.
Rush of blood to the head.
Got another number.
But where I'm being careful was like back in the day when it wasn't when GST first came out. I think they made some other changes. But anyway, they set up a hotline going, if you need help, call us. Every single person that rang that hotline for help got audited.
Well, there's a hotline on the back of the thing.
Well, fucking don't call it.
If you need more information.
Because if you get audited, it's just basically... Because you can get audit insurance, which people that don't run companies might know, which is like for $10,000, like $2,500 to $10,000, because they just go, we need this, and from your accountant. It's
time
just
is
like,
money, and the money is mine, and you're taking up my time. So
and it's like, fucking hell. But these are the things which, again, you go through Kubler-Ross, and the first thing, instantly you go to anger, where you just go, it's just not worth my time. Like, fuck it, I'll wrap it up. I don't want to. I will join the black economy. You look at these sorts of things, you just go...
The amount of paperwork involved.
How much fucking paperwork is there?
Yeah. And it changes all the time.
And
they make it as difficult as possible.
And it's just like... Because the people making up these rules... Because I've worked there. I once did a short contract at the tax office.
Jesus.
1,000 years ago for... $70+ an hour in 1999 money.
Good money. That racket.
Back then. And they were, which people don't realise, they're not. It's exactly the same as any other large organisation. They're not, they're the same sort of people and all the rest of it. But where it did differ...
I was going to say, I would, yeah.
There was one place where it really did differ. An inexhaustible budget.
I would, and say they're belligerent because they reckon they're God.
No, there
in
was...
some cases they are, because you never argue with the tax office.
It was,
will not win.
Within the organisation, I worked for the worst part of the tax office, the child support agency.
Oh, God.
Right? People that I'll never have anything to do with it, thanks to a vasectomy. Yay. Is that there was definitely there was two classes there. There was Morlock and Eloy, and there were actual public servants, which were few and far between.
That
even
had to
then,
talk to people.
no, just actual like people that were employed by the government,
Right.
which I would put at like the child support agency back then on the floor that I was on, maybe 10 or 20% were actually public service employees,
As opposed to.
contractors.
Right.
I worked for Unisys.
Right. Okay.
So there was Candle IT and Unisys, and I think Unisys bought out Candle IT. But anyway, there was just big consulting firms, all providing employees, and like I was making $70 an hour, so they would have been charging at least $100 for my services, and so they were all just so the contractors couldn't give a shit about anything. Like they'd give a shit about their job on whatever project, but they were focused on what they're doing. And the vast majority of the public servants that were there were people who were from elsewhere, because this was the racket back then. So you worked at the equivalent back then. Like, let's say you worked at Centrelink or whatever it's called this day in the back of Wagga. You're in the middle of nowhere and you work for a Centrelink, right? You do your job and it's all good. And you're at a public service level, because they all have these really strict levels. You remember these things? And you're at level 3. I don't know what it was, right? If you go in and work in Belconnen for 2 years, you go up levels.
And you can't come back down.
And you can't come back down. So then you go back. So basically you did a tour of duty in Canberra every few years. You went up a pay scale or two, and then you went back to the same job doing the same thing.
Paid more money.
And you paid more money. And that's what they did. So I would argue then, again, there would be the vast majority contractors, a small amount of actual public servants, and then the tiniest 15th, probably the guy running the floor, that actually was Sir Humphrey Appleby. He actually was the public servant.
Your point is, what do you...
And the point is that I'm saying it's not a grand conspiracy.
What? I don't know what you've gone. You've gone so far off on a tangent.
I think what started it, and yes, can you read that back? I need a stenographer. I need a producer and a stenographer. So yes, I've gone on a wonderful, interesting tangent where I was which was on the whole. I think you were saying that it was personal. There was an audit. There was, and that's where I'm sort of very, very.
No, I just think they
saying,
think that they're.
That's what I was responding to.
What do you say when people who have God on their side or their conscience?
Yeah, beware of people that do things with the approval of their conscience.
That's right. Because again, they will not budge. No,
and
I've argued with them once. And I've had to just do what they've said and then get the money back. Yeah, because they won't.
Which was my point. Yeah, I agree. Which was my point. You could see two explanations for that, right? The person on the other end of the phone. One is a Machiavellian. No, I think you're doing the wrong thing. My conscience is dictating. Praise Jesus that you've done the wrong thing, and this isn't. And
you owe us this much money.
You're not a good citizen.
Yeah,
you've done the wrong thing. Or the reality that I present you is just like fucking whatever.
Yeah.
What's for lunch? Like they just go, no, what you've said doesn't match on this form.
That's what I'm saying. That's more I'm saying.
This form that the guy over there produced.
Yeah, I don't know where the form came from.
That's also disinterested.
No.
Like anyway. That's the whole. The quote of
tax over sucks, but yeah.
Well, death and taxes. They're going to exist, and that's the whole quote of like never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by ignorance, and most of it's ignorance.
It's all bullshit.
But they do have, like all large organisations, they definitely, right at the top there might be, we're not talking about at the top there might be definite malice and directives that are coming in, we think politically this should happen and this should happen and this should happen, but the people actually implementing it, they're just, they're functionaries.
No. And they want to talk to you when they think you owe them money, but the minute you go, I think you owe me money, they don't want to hear it.
Life is not fair.
Anyway, all right, I think I'm done.
I think we're done. I think that's pretty good. So, what's the title of this one? Domestic violence, which would be the
joke that is domestic violence leave.
Oh, I don't even know if we need to be. I think just domestic violence leave.
Sorry, paid family and domestic violence leave.
Family and domestic violence leave.
Because again, it can be any of those people. It can be a spouse. It can be a grandparent. It can be.
I'm looking for the court case where it's a great grandparent, and they go, Well, no, they're not eligible.
I don't know. Yeah, wow.
But because there's plenty of great grandparents getting around, and a lot of them are set in their ways. I just find the main problem I have with it is the lack of proof, the lack of conviction in terms of you need to have been judged as a part of due process before, because that's the thing, you get convicted by something, fine, right? At some point you have to draw a line in the sand and say, again, yeah, we all think you did it.
So
that's fine.
Again, so scenario, again, you shouldn't always just pick a scenario, straw man, but so I'm an employee, I'm decided that I want to take extra leave, and I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to a GP appointment. Oh yeah, it's related to domestic violence. You say, can you show me your appointment? I show you a GP appointment. Done. Like
let's get to the real rub of the difference between people who
or
do
I say
this
no,
and you and I. Yes, there's that.
And then what does the employer do?
Fire you. And then you end up then the employer ends up in fucking court,
arbitration or whatever it is,
tribunal or whatever it is to say, well, they didn't provide. Which I've been in enough tribunals. I've never been in a fair work tribunal. We've certainly been in enough rental tribunals. If you're pretty matter of fact about it, like all court things, well, the court tends to be pretty matter of fact about it as well. So I think if you went in there and said, well, Your Honour or arbiter or whatever, they didn't tell me. So here's the thing. They came to me, they asked for the time off. I said, why do you need the time off? They said, none of your business, and I said no.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning, the middle, and the end of it.
So anyway, and it's national.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, the point I was going to make before was the big difference between you and I have a problem with this and everything like this is have some fucking decorum.
There's no shame or embarrassment. Like, fix it.
Yeah,
leave them.
And that's the thing, which they're doing. And this is, we're trying to help them do it, and we're trying to facilitate, and all the rest of it.
If your life and your children's lives are in danger,
it wouldn't even come.
Run.
It wouldn't even come into it. Like, you would just up and go. But again, even before that, you wouldn't look at during this time and this time, I was shortchanged like 3 days. And I need to think it, so I'm going to go back to that's like the retrospective bit.
Yeah.
So, just the decorum. Like, I would be,
mortified.
as a male, I'd be mortified. But even as a female, like, especially in a professional setting, because everyone knew the girl that was getting, in any job, the girl that was getting touched up. And at the blue collar level, and quite a lot at the white collar level, especially now that everybody's going to the gym and doing MMA and all the rest of it. You know what you used to do? You took the bloke out the back and you beat the fucking shit out of him up the wall for belting the woman up. Like, you knew what was going on. You knew he wasn't good, and you fucking got rid of him. You fired him and all the rest of it. But
Again,
I'm going in a roundabout sort of way.
Why are your personal circumstances coming into the workplace?
Yeah, that's where you and I take a very cut and dried approach of work, where
if you wanna,
especially in a professional environment,
absolutely,
where it's just like, I don't care.
I don't want to know. Like, this is over the line. Too much information.
I don't care.
Stop telling me this.
It's none of my business.
Yeah,
I don't want to know.
my business.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
This is potentially slander.
If you need me to personally help you,
you need someone to go and chat to the guy.
Yeah, you need someone to.
You need a place to stay.
You need some money. Like, you need to sort out somewhere to hide. Like,
yeah, but do we need to involve payroll?
Yeah, like, fuck.
It is bizarre. But I said the decorum.
Yeah.
But is again to play.
We're old now, apparently.
To continue to play devil's advocate is like, but it's that decorum and that hiding it that has allowed it to perpetuate it for yonks and yonks. It's like, it's not the fucking 60s anymore. This isn't, I can't. Do I come home with my old-fashioned and backhand you as I walk through the door?
This is completely politically incorrect, this view, which I'm about to now say, but maybe it's the fact that there's no physical consequences anymore for
everyone
that it perpetuates.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, because, as you said, so you whack your wife and then her husband, her brother comes and beats the shit out of you and says, or a father, don't touch her.
Or shoots you in the face.
Yeah, like, stop, you're a fuckwit, stop it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, now that guy goes, but I have rights, and Yeah, it is interesting, but that's the whole idea of that.
Violence isn't the answer.
That was where the village used to you know, there'd always be a ledger, and it's like, are you an overall net benefit to the village? And
I think,
if you are, you continue to respire and be a part of the village. If you are not, we either bash your brains out with a rock, or you are exiled, which is
the tribe has
almost certain death, because what people don't realise is that humans are social animals, and that's how we're wet, weak meat sacks. But the brain,
safety in numbers.
The brain is quite good, and there's safety in numbers. And if you get exiled, well, that's a rapjack. But yeah, it's just
bizarre.
It's just bizarre. But as I said, I understand the intention. I don't think the intention is necessarily bad. I think the implementation, especially as I'm still stuck on, as are you, that
just put something on their payslip that looks like they were at work
for them. But that's where unpaid made it more sensible to me. And you can't. Well, this is where they're trying to legislate good behaviour. But you know what would make more sense? The 5 years, whatever the 5 year. I need to look at the details, of course, but whatever the 5 day unpaid stuff is, you know, it'd be fun to me. It would be more reasonable. Whatever the rules are around that, like let them have the time off, fine, whatever, because they're not going to come to work anyway, right? And then it might say it would behoove the employee to offer personal support, including financial, if it's appropriate. You know, like if you sort of
employee or employer,
the employer, like if you wanted to nudge them. It would be good if you helped them, rather than what they're trying to do is saying, we're going to legislate you helping them, and you need to cook the books, and like that. I'm finding it difficult to be around that to try and work it out.
Yeah.
So
I don't know how that's going to work in practice.
So yeah, and when it comes to like the defamation thing that I've pointed out, yes, again, it's a bit out there. There's definitely been cases beforehand with the other, with various fuckery with the existing laws. Because when I was arguing with that person about defamation, because all they're saying is, well, you don't know how defamation works. And I'm going, I do a bit. Like, I'm not just saying, like, one person knows. Like, I mean, you have to suffer a loss, like, especially if you want it to be, you know, a tangible, objective loss, a financial loss. That certainly makes it, rather than just, I've lost reputation. Even though that is still a part of defamation law in Australia, that you can sue for loss of reputation. But there was definitely. We'll have to follow up afterwards. But there was definitely case law around those laws and people being affected by it unintentionally, and it went to court. But as I said, I'm stuck on the cooking the books, and I'm stuck on the decorum of it.
Well, which comes into my part. It's like, yeah, so there's no way in hell I would walk into an office in a professional situation and go, oh yeah, I need domestic violence leave. No. I would take holidays or take unpaid leave.
Or take off.
Or, yeah.
You would just cease to be there.
Or
like, you would split.
I'm not talking to you about my personal situation. Why would I discuss that with you?
Yeah. Any more than I would talk about needing
my
time.
My bowel movements,
it's
or
exactly
my
what
menstrual
I was say.
cycle, or
my
butt hurts. Yeah, I don't know.
That's exactly what I was going to go for. I need to take a day off because I've got anal warts.
Yeah, fuck.
Like,
I caught an STD last Friday because I was out fucking someone and I didn't whatever. Like, why would you say any of that shit?
No, you would sort it out before work.
Yeah.
There's a reason the VD clinic's open, after hour. EDs are open 24 hours.
I'll stop ranting because we're nearly done. But yeah. And so the person that you speak to in HR, how can they ever look at you the same again?
They can't.
In any work environment, in any professional meeting?
They can't.
But
HR. But that's also the problem with HR. HR is always the keepers of the scrolls.
Yeah, they
know what everyone makes. They deal with that.
But they would be involved in planning meetings, and there's always someone from every department that comes head of every department at the end of the year or beginning of the year or whatever, planning meetings and committee meetings and, executive meetings, and HR's always there because of potential issues. And how can you sit in a fucking meeting room
You
with
would need
someone...
to be extremely professional.
What?
And HR generally isn't all
No,
that
they
professional.
all talk. All the shit
Of course they do.
leaks. Yeah.
Of course they do.
The amount of shit that
'Cause that's
we
the
used
thing.
to hear
And
that
why-
would be in HR, and they go, "Oh, such and
Again,
such got fired because they were fucking on the desk." It's like, really?
And that happened with you, right? Was that actually
Not
HR
to
that told
me,
you? But was it HR that was the source of the thing, or was it the IT guy that was, or the security
from what
guy?
I understand, someone saw that and reported it to HR.
Saw the video or saw the
Saw
fucking...
the humans.
Right, so they came in late, pushed their cast and heard,
Hey!
and it was like,
But
hey,
yeah.
got a live one.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe, all right, well, in that case, maybe they were professional.
But yeah, I don't
And
know.
it was someone
Anyway.
else that got around. But that was the thing, that if someone had heard that...
You'd have to leave your job. Like, I'd have to resign.
Absolutely. So that
I
would be
couldn't face people
Is
knowing
that the next step, that you get domestic violence loading on your payout? The other thing I was thinking about beforehand, which may be a more amusing and lighter way to potentially end this, was that I think it was a bit of stand-up I saw a long, long time ago, because a lot of this has gone away. But it was just like talking about productivity in Australia, which made me think of it, which was like somebody saying, remember when you used to get leave loading? It used to be 17.5% leave loading. So you got paid extra work to go on holidays. It was like, Australia is the only country in the world where you go, oh, I need some more work. I need some more money next week. Fuck, I better take a week off work.
That's all gone now, right?
Oh, it depends on the thing. It depends on the award and all that sort of stuff. Again, you and I are well out of touch on all of this, because once you make again, I don't know what it is now, but once you made over a certain amount of money, you were considered then you were considered an adult, and a lot of these rules went away. Especially on minimum pay rules and rules around unfair dismissal and all that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Didn't it?
It's been a long time since I've looked at it, but at one point it was like 130 grand. Once you're on the high side of 130 grand, you didn't have to do anything.
All the shit that they used to have I started in retail. My first job was a checkout chick, 14 9 months Coles. All the pay rates have gone fucking backwards. Like, for example, Sunday.
Oh, yeah.
Sunday pay. You don't get paid as much on Sundays as you used to. And they're like, yeah.
Not even close.
And then public holidays, double time. I've said this a few times to people in supermarkets when I've been in on a public holiday. Oh, at least you're getting double time and a half. And they're like, no, I'm not. I'm like, what do you mean you're not?
So in the good old days, which I think was less than, and it used to be less than
are
what
you
it was
here?
before, there was the weekday rate, the Saturday rate, the Sunday rate, double time,
Public holiday rate.
so double bubble,
Yep.
and then there was the public holiday, which was triple time, or thereabouts.
I know Christmas Day was a mozza, and they used to literally 11:59 on Christmas Eve. They're like, "Get out!
Fuck it up. Put everything down and leave.
I can't afford to keep you in here. Everyone down tools."
But that was the thing. It was pretty. So now, like using the bar as an example, so like because they make it so complicated. And this is unions and things, bless them, whatever, trying to, we're going to get this extra thing. But it's so, because once it goes through the committee system, obviously they go in there and go, right, I think, let's say for argument's sake, instead of $20 an hour, people should get $25 an hour. And then the negotiation starts. And then you end up with like what it is. There's an hourly, like so on a weekday, there's a weekday rate between this hour, and then there's another rate between this hour and this hour.
And then after midnight.
And then after it. So in the bar, the kids working on Friday night, on a normal shift, will have 3 pay rates.
3 pay rates.
And the difference is a bee's dick.
Yeah.
30 cents.
Yeah.
Like, we round it all up to an even number because we're not nuts.
And that's all, again, there's all the meal breaks and the bloody blah, which we just pay them for because I can't be bothered working
No,
it out.
it's just too hard.
Just give them extra money.
And at some point, one of them is going to come back on us and we're going to go, and the question would be, did you follow, which would be funny this week, make sure you don't get asked that question, it's like, did you follow the award rate? No, I didn't. They were paid more. Were they given breaks? They were paid for all their break times.
They've been told they can take a break, but you'll be paid for it because I'm not sitting there working out what time. I don't have a clock in doodad, and I'm not, and I don't have a thing, an app on. I don't care. I'll just give you the money. I'll just pay you.
One's 25-ish, the other one's 45.
Yeah.
They're adults.
Yeah.
If they want to take a break, they take a break. They don't have to ask. This isn't prison.
No.
They're not.
Same as going to the loo. You can go as many times as you like.
I've had that before. Someone asked me that. It's like, oh, I'm going to go to the loo. Is that okay? It's like, no, it's prison.
Yeah. I remember, so again, we will stop soon because we're just rambling now.
Yeah.
So in the call centre, one of the call centres that was attached to one of the jobs that I used to have.
Right.
They had
don't tell me you worked in a call centre.
I have never worked in a call centre. They had a new manager come in and they were like, toilet breaks must be logged.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm not doing that.
They said that to you as well?
No, they said this to the whole call centre. And again, I used to chat to a few of the guys. But yeah, I'm like, they can't do that. Can't do that.
I think they probably can.
And if they did try to do that to me, I'd leave.
Of course.
Like,
of course,
no.
because you're a grown-up.
I get paid 3 cents an hour. I'll go to the toilet whenever I fucking feel like it. Thanks very much.
I'll go and get another McJob.
Yeah, so anywho. Alright, I'm going to go and do something.
What's the final thing I remember on that subject to lighten it up right at the end, and then we definitely will stop, is that I remember I worked for a company, a blind company, right after I finished Year 12. And I took days off to go to my HSC exams, damn it, because I'm a patriot. Because I'm an idiot who likes money. And that's how you buy a house when you're 20. So, yeah, working for this blind country, so basically a little factory. And the guy that I worked with, bless him, every afternoon at 4:30 you could set, you work till 5, but at 4:30 you could set...
Poop time? With a
time
newspaper.
to take a dump. With a porno. And... Because it was a factory. This is 1993, and
were
because
the
it's a
magazines
little.
Kept in the cubicles?
No. We were no, absolutely not. It was making blinds, so there was a massive big table. You'd absolutely recognise it, like a really big textiles table, with a big like a shelf underneath it.
Yeah.
Ribald, ooey, the Penthouse is like, oh god, that's lightweight stuff. It's like, here's a magazine dedicated, because this was back then, here's a magazine dedicated to horse fucking, like it was
God.
Because it was all one-upmanship, like, this would be a toxic working environment. Boys and their toys, and like going, look at this fucking magazine I picked up when I went on that holiday in Mexico, like, utterly fucking, even mentioning it's probably illegal these days.
My eyeballs are bleeding.
Anyway, at 4:30, I looked at Come With Me and I went, Jesus
fucking hell.
4:30
every day.
4:30 every day. The old mate would toddle off to the toilet, and the boss, Lance, bless him, would be, fuck. And you go over there and you bang on the door, shit in your own fucking time, like, get out of there, you fucking, I'm not fucking paying you for this. I would like to think that he took less time off lunch, but I don't think he did, because obviously one was reliant on the other. It was the hearty lunch that one required
affected the other.
The decent crap at the end.
Precipitated the
other. But that
other.
also showed, and why names shall remain nameless, even though we're well past any kind of claim, because it was like nearly 30 years ago. Is like, but these are the things like way back then. So everyone was a casual, and old mate that I'm thinking of really was the permanent. And he didn't, for whatever reason, the boss didn't want to employ him full time. Like now, I'd say to him, why not? You would actually be at work, providing you make sure he took his holidays every year, you'd be better off.
Well, I always just remember that they could flick you at any time if you're a casual.
Well, what he used to do, which he still can, but what he used to do was he would fire him at Christmas every year.
Oh, see, that's
and
dumb.
then he'd go, so he could go and get unemployment benefits.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
For the month or whatever, and then he'd come back. Yeah. So, like, everybody was
working the system,
and that's how it was.
Anyhow,
that's it. Off you go, my children. Beware of domestic violence.
Wolves.
And wolves.